Hey everybody, this is my little Vostok Komandirskie, and this is a cool little watch. I bought it a few years ago. It was $28. Now they're about 40 if you look on eBay. The diameter is 39 millimeters and the thickness is 12 and a quarter. The movement is manual wind only, 19,800 vibrations per hour and a 36-hour power reserve. Now the case material I'm not sure about. It's probably, because of the price point, probably chrome-plated brass, but it looks good. The lug width is 18 millimeters, and that did cause me a little bit of a problem. We'll talk about that soon. Now the crown is screw down, but it's not signed, and it's going to be difficult to use until you get used to it. So it does screw down. If you're used to, say, Seiko or Citizen or certainly Tissot or any of the Swiss brands, you probably won't like this at first. And then when it comes out, it has a fair amount of wobble to it. So when you go to wind it, you have to pull this, hold it out a little bit and then wind this forward and then pull it all the way out and you can set the time. But when you're setting the time, so watch the date at the 3 o'clock position. There is no quick set date. So I'm going to come around past midnight. Now, if you want to set it forward, so now you back it up, let's go back to 9 p.m. That would be safe. So setting the date is difficult. Let me show you. Okay, 22nd. So most people that have Russian watches don't set the date, and I don't either. Water resistance is 30 meters. The mass with this strap is 64 grams. The bracelet material is an imitation leather, and the first thing you do when you take it out of the box is throw it in the trash. And then I got this Hadley Roma, which I thought is just the perfect strap for this watch. I mentioned the strap length, and I forgot to talk about that. When you have a narrow strap, you usually have a smaller diameter watch. So if you have, let's say, a standard 20 or 22 millimeter watch strap and you're used to buying those, and then you go to an 18 or especially a 16, then you will need a longer strap just because this watch is going to be smaller. So you have to compensate that with the extra length. So this one looks good and I really like it. I should have ordered the longer version. So keep that in mind. If you replace it, just order a longer strap than you're used to, and you'll be very happy with it. I definitely like the red and black and white. Nice sporty colors. The bezel does rotate, but there's no clicks. It's just a friction fit, so it's bi-directional, and then sometimes it can move and shift a little bit on its own. It doesn't really matter. The dial is printed, and at this price point, you definitely want a printed dial. The reason is if the indices and the numerals are not applied correctly, they will fall off and jam up the movement. So here at this price point, to keep it reliable, you want a printed dial. Now the lugs are angled sharply, but they're so small it doesn't really matter, which does keep it to a low profile, which is nice. Oh, the crystal, I forgot about that. So this is it's just a basic acrylic domed crystal, and screw down case back, that's stamped metal and not laser etched, which is nice, and it has an O-ring seal. Let me see if I can get this to focus. What this means Russian, and this translates to waterproof or water resistance, but then they don't claim a number, so I'm going to say it's a basic 30 meters. So fine for general work, just don't go swimming with this. Certainly not diving. I do like the hands. They're nice and long. It does have loom. It's reasonable for this price point. It's much better than some of the other lower level watches, but it's not going to compete with anything fancier, and it shouldn't. But this is a nice little watch. I like the white dial. It's a gloss white. The printing is nice and sharp. So this is an old school watch. This is the way things were made a long time ago. And what I like about it is that they only met the requirements. And so much of manufacturing in the United States is listed with requirements on one side And then on the other side, you have desirements. And that's how you get cost overruns. And so this one only did what it was supposed to do and nothing more. And I really appreciate that. It's a nice way to get a lot of watches to a lot of people. So I mentioned the slow date change. That's typical of most Russian watches. The movement does not hack. This is old school. It's basic. 28 bucks, that's what you get. So one of the other things to think about on this is that if you're used to nicer watches, you'll see most Russian watches, and certainly low-level ones, as having flaws. And this doesn't have flaws. Once you're used to them, you see Russian quirks, and there's a big difference between those. But this is a great little watch. Now, I put a $35 strap on a $28 watch, but it's done forever. You could let it sit for 50 years and it'll still run as soon as you wind it. The watch is reliable and it is cheap. And speaking of that, if you are a prepper, you should have one or two of these. Even if you don't like this watch, even if you don't wear a watch, put one of these in your truck, put one of these in your toolbox, and let it sit there until you need to bug out. And then put this thing on, wind it up, and you are good to go. You should have one of these no matter your station in life. For 40 bucks, buy it.